going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 306. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him E, sitting here on a Monday, beautiful Austin, Texas, coming off a 2-2 draw up there in Minnesota. How you feeling, my friend?
I'm good, man. First, start off with a happy belated Mother's Day to all the moms out there and the good women that help the North End sickos out, you know, with everything that we got going on. So shout out to all the moms and all that good stuff, man. I'm good. I had a great day yesterday hanging out with you, shooting some dats. Had our buddy Tom over, had the games on, got to watch you be super upset about the Spurs. But satisfied with this point here. I thought this was a solid point on the road versus a quality team. I'm excited to get into that. Excited to look forward to San Diego coming up here and get this ball rolling even hotter than it is right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, a lot to get to here today, rather, because turn right around, got a midweek road match out there in San Diego. So recapping Minnesota, previewing San Diego. Same thing in last business day. Second team played Tacoma over the weekend, last night rather, right? And then taking on Rapids 2 on Wednesday as well. So a jam-packed episode. But before we get into that, I will mention, maybe some of the YouTube viewers already noticed, that it's my turn to be the North End host with an open wound on my face while I'm podcasting. Dude, for the last week, I have been pushing, shoving, tripping, holding this 7'4" French guy, and he finally took matters into his own hands and hit me in the face. Oh, wait, I'm checking my notes here. It says, actually, that was Naz Reid. I ran into a door. So, me and Naz on the mend here. And we want to remind you all, as we always do, that you can support the show financially for free by downloading the audio version of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts. You can toggle on auto downloads. That'll support us in that manner going forward. You won't have to think about it again. You want to go the extra mile, rate and review the show wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're watching on the YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button because it does help us grow the show, and you can hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. Of course, here on episode 306, hit the thumbs up, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords and the NBA officials. Atone for your sins, Timberwolves. Wash yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. And I just want to make it clear, a deserved ejection last night, but was building as I yelled in your face when it happened.
Yeah, also a deserved elbow to the throat of Naz Reid for how much they've been hacking that dude all series long. We'll get into some elbows in this Minnesota game too.
Yes, absolutely. So we'll leave the hoops in the past and hopefully not circle back around too many times to our other favorite teams here. And before we get into the Minnesota game, I just wanted to shout out, I guess the club, but certainly CJ and Damian for the live stream of them unboxing some MLS Topps Chrome trading cards, which is something that you and I certainly like to do when these cards come out every year. We certainly had some fun, February, I think, March maybe, when we were ripping those new boxes. And so these guys jumped on a stream about a half hour late last week. And so for those who are, so inclined like we are, it was a fun stream and pulled a couple Austin cards on there. And I think the best one they probably pulled was that Jordi Alba out of 5 autograph card, which was nice. But I also enjoyed, we didn't necessarily get the answers to some of these things, but I noticed, they pulled a Tate Johnson card, right? The young left back from Vancouver. And they both kind of looked at each other and giggled about something. I was like, they know a story about Tate Johnson, and I want to know what it is, because that's Riley Thomas's college teammate. So they may know something about Tate Johnson, is why they were laughing. So I was picking up little things like that. Maybe it's nothing, but I had a good time, and I hope the club lets them do this again on the official channel, because I know I was not the only one in there watching it live in the chat, interacting with this guy. So fun time. A shout out to the club for that.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, I love it. This is definitely up our alley, but like these are the last bastion of like affordable sports cards where you can get awesome cards for like under $200 and not be just out and then get a fucking like, Usman Dang autograph and you're running with that and you just lost $500. But this is cool, man. And then obviously having the two younger bucks there running that was pretty sweet. I know CJ is really into some collectibles and stuff like that card, so that's see. You have to pitch him on Top Shot there, bud.
Yeah. Well, hey, dude, and no low blows at Usman Jang. He's helped us out more than once, or certainly me. Absolutely. I'm still flush.
That's
all right. Let's get into this match from last night. Of course, the second straight Sunday night soccer match for Austin FC, this time on the road, taking on Minnesota. We had a Friday morning media availability from Coach Estevez, and I think the big news coming out of that was that he ruled Jaden Nelson out for this Sunday match, and just from conversations we had yesterday, got to hit the drop.
Rumors, whispers, made up trades, consequences we never weigh. Logic's thin, the mic is hot. Let's pretend this means a lot. Taking shots from way downtown, hoping no one writes it down. Hot takes flying without hesitation. It's time for some reckless speculation.
So I guess if I'm trying to put a positive spin on this, and I think this is a non-zero chance. We were discussing yesterday pre-match the fact that Jaden was ruled out, right? And we talked about our speculation last episode that he's just, handling himself with care until the World Cup comes around because, right, all the reasons we mentioned, number one being once in a lifetime opportunity, the pinnacle of the sport that these guys play professionally. Is there a chance? I know you agree with me, but I guess maybe just asking rhetorically to the listener here, that Jaden Nelson has a guarantee from Canada that he's able to play in this, and the only way he's not making the team is if he gets injured and is not able to play in that manner. Again, like, it's reckless speculation, but I think there's a chance that's what's going on here, because came out banger against Houston, right? Scores shortly thereafter, like I gotta come out, and then hasn't played since. It's like kind of like made my imprint. Maybe Jesse Marshall's like, I've seen all I need to see, shut it down, and we don't see him and like, dude, if that's the case, I'm fine with that. Of course, we've already said, like, even if he's just being careful for the possibility of getting called up, I'm fine with that. Mm-hmm. I think I would just like this to be true more so than we're sitting and waiting and maybe going to be disappointed for Jaden at the end of the day. I hope the speculation is correct.
Yeah. Are you saying like you would want the team to say something, like just come out and say that?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
I'm just saying I would like that to be the case rather than we're just sitting around and waiting, because then the disappointment and the Captain Hindsight can fly in and be like, well, you should have been playing because you weren't going to make the team without playing, and yada yada. And it's like, well, again, I think both of us understand the situation, at least to how we interpret how things are going on with Jaden right now. But again, trying to put a positive spin, potentially he could already have that nod and it just hasn't been announced yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a non-zero chance in my opinion, and maybe the most likely at this point, right? Like, I don't think you're going to be this cautious with him. Maybe not just saying with him, like Jaden being this cautious and us being this cautious with him, and like those conversations have happened between, I think, was it Marsh you said is doing the Canadian team there?
Well, he's the manager of the Canadian team still.
Like, they're talking, you know what I mean? Like there's stuff going on there. They know what's up. So like, I get it. And like we talked about earlier, like I understand the frustration that some fans are having with him right now, but I really can't be upset about it. I can't because I would never, obviously never had the opportunity to represent my country in the World Cup, but like potentially missing out on that opportunity because you have Mike Boxall take you out in a game versus Minnesota seems like a really shitty risk that you could take when there's a huge reward there. So like, I get it. Again, my concerns will happen with Jaden if post World Cup something's still going on, or he
Yeah.
doesn't make the team and we find out like he was never in consideration. But as of right now, I totally understand where Jaden's coming from and his camp.
Yeah. Well, we get the lineup, same 11 as last time out, right? With John Gallagher in at left wing in that Jaden Nelson slot. Bench this time, slightly different with no Jaden, right? It is John Kolmanich that slots in that vacant bench slot. On the other side, did have James Rodriguez on the bench. So again, just playing into our fears that we talked about on the preview. It's like, of course, he's going to come in for a little cameo here and do some damage. Boy, did he. But looking at their starting lineup, just about what we expected. I don't recall if this is the exact same 11 from Minnesota's previous match, but I think it was. Right, you got Yeboah, Pereira, Chonkalai up top, Padelford rather, and Mark Hannick as the wingbacks, Jen and Triantis the pairing in their defensive midfield. Seemed like there were really no surprises on either side, absent just the James Rodriguez being active, but that wasn't crazy either, especially when he wasn't listed on their injury report on Saturday afternoon.
They had Bongi first game, right? Pretty sure Bongi played.
Yes, and I want to say he started that match.
I think he did.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's up with him. I know the last few games, right? Because we talked about on the preview episode that he hadn't been active the last couple, but his designation on the injury report has been not due to injury. And then he was not listed on their injury report, but didn't make the team. So it might be, maybe it's green card proceedings, maybe it's personal reasons, but seemed to me not on the injury report, but not in the team. Maybe just some reconditioning for Bongi there. And again, now we're just having conversations for ourselves about the depth of Minnesota. I don't think the listeners could give a shit. So anything else for you on the lineups for both of these teams?
I mean, I liked what Nico wrote out here. Obviously, we're limited still with how much you're going to be able to get out of Pep and how much you're going to be able to get out of BV and Owen here. So I'm good with the lineup. Obviously, plugging Johnny in for Jaden is a bit of a downgrade in my opinion, but still Johnny more than capable, more than suitable to fill that role on the wing there. And you look across the field and, we knew this was a talented team. And, I talked about a bunch on the preview, the fact that they hadn't really beaten anyone significant thus far this season, and the fact that the teams that they did play that we classify in the upper echelon really handled them with ease. So that wasn't to say that I didn't think this team was good, particularly at home. And I know that we talked about like Austin playing really great up there at Allianz Field and like being able to get some victories up there, but like this was still a quality team. And I think you saw it with who they rolled out there. And then obviously getting James integrated into the second half and the ability that dude has to change games, and he sure as shit changed this game.
Well, and where we were watching, of course, we had the dual screen action because Austin's kicking off about a half hour before Spurs-Wolves game 4. And the one eerie thing that certainly made us feel like we were in the Matrix right before Austin kicks off is 2 different streams, 2 different professional sports leagues, same commercial, same time. I think you may have still been sitting down. Me, Debo, and Jones were sitting there, 2 different streams running the same AT&T commercial simultaneously, which it was just a little bit of an eerie feeling.
Okay.
So
that's what pissed Wemby off.
Yeah, we get this one kicked off, and we'll just pick it up in the 11th minute because I thought over the first 10 minutes it was mostly Minnesota controlling things, but Austin finally setting into the Loons half of the field for what I think felt like to me in the moment the first time in the match. And here they've got possession for over a minute of game time here, probing in and around that 18-yard box, and finally Austin able to find some space on that left side with Guilherme Biru playing one over the top in behind to Christian Ramirez, who's making a diagonal run right to left inside the box. And Ramirez is able to cushion this ball down into the path of Mirtu, who just rips one off the half volley towards the top corner of that near post. And Drake Callender able to paw it out over for a corner kick. And that corner gets headed away to the top of the box for Mikel Dessler. Dessler winds up for a shot that deflects off of Nectarios Triantis and out for a corner. But Chris Penso points to the spot. And I didn't see that live. And you know who else didn't? Mikel Dessler.
Yeah.
Because he's pointing to the corner, and when Penso points to the spot, he thinks it's a goal kick. and he loses his mind. And I get it, but he also did not see this handball, and you can see Guilherme Biru come over laughing, giving Dessler like, no, it just 2 thumbs up, like, no, it's good. And they get a little hug. And so this gets reviewed, but as soon as you see the replay, especially from behind Triantis, clearly a handball and has to be a pen here. And then we get into the conversation for the first time this year since we missed the pen against with LAFC, right, was the last Mirtu miss. It is Mirtu Azuni who steps up to take it. Calmly slots it home. Calendar goes the wrong way. Mirtu mean mugs the entire wonder wall there at Allianz Field. Austin's got the early lead, and I got to tell you, man, there's no way I can be fully bought back in on Mirtu. I just can't. But everybody watching on the YouTube can see what you're doing there. It's ticking up. It's getting closer. I'm not going to get all the way there, but I guess I'll say this. Barring him completely collapsing from a performance standpoint over the next 3 games, and it doesn't feel like that's going to happen because the confidence is at an all-time high here. I don't know, man. A
good problem to have. It's a good problem to have.
If you end up keeping him, if he's going to play like this, then yeah.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you. And for the people not watching on YouTube, I was just moving the gauge up a little bit on the where are we at with wanting to keep Mirtu and all that. So I'll jump back to the start there. Good way to settle into this game here with a little progressive build-up. You get more touches on the ball, a lot of people touching it. Then we get this nice ball over the top from Guilherme, dropped on nicely by Ramirez. He's been great at that. With those lofted balls that just kind of softly touching him to somebody running behind him or beside him. He's been fantastic at that all season. Great shot by Mirtu to set this off. And, he's into the game now. And then obviously you get this PK here, which definitely, and I was thinking about it last night when we were when this takes place and everything. And obviously it's 2020 after the fact, but numbers would say Austin was due to get a PK at some point in time here. You know what I mean? We had a couple close calls, some that we thought with the Verde tinted lenses were going to go our way there. But you do get this one that's as clear as day. And then the conversation starts, right? We're standing there. We might have a little bit of a bias because we took shots on target for Facu last night. So I think we both admitted all right, Facu, here we go, and then trying to figure out Ramirez standing there with the ball. We're like, really? Is Ramirez going to take this? But I like that tactic because usually the guys will swarm, talk a little shit, and then you swap the dude out. Steps up, and I think this shot is going in even if Calendar guesses the right way, but you send him the wrong way. And I love the celebration afterward, the mean mug, the confidence is just fucking oozing off of this dude right now. He's balling. He's been we started out with the start of this season saying Joseph Rosales was our best and most consistent player. It has been Mirtu Azuni as of late being our best and most consistent player. It's been awesome to see. And I am right there with you where it's just I'd have to see something good on the figure if you're going to move him at this point now. And again, barring an insane kind of collapse here. And I know that, goals, it was particularly with kind of his poacher secondary striker style can be a bit hot and cold, but this dude has just been engaged. He's in the right places at the right time. I do think he has an error later in this game that we'll get to a little bit here at the end of the half, but the confidence is back, dude. And you can tell how important that is for a dude like him. And I am loving what I am seeing out of this guy. Now it becomes, and this is a bit of an issue, right? It's what does it look like with BV? Ramirez has clearly found a way to not be the top dog there and that two kind of dual striker lineup and find ways to get Mirtu involved, find him in the right spots and everything like that. So what it looks like with BV is going to be the big question, because that's really what we were looking at when we got both of them at the start of last season, was we did not find the right way to employ both of them. You're going to have to figure that out. But with the way Mirtu is playing right now, the confidence that he has, the way the ball's just popping off of his foot, even that first shot was a good shot, a good save by Calendar, quality on both sides right there, is just really, really encouraging to see. And I'm just really fucking happy for the guy because it looks like he's having a good time for the first time in a green and black kit. And that is awesome.
Yeah, so 5 goals, 4 assists through his 12 matches. You're on pace for 25 and a half contributions now, which again, man, last year exists. and other teams around the world can see that. But I feel like you've also, like, if you're talking about a potential move, right? Because it's not just Austin potentially wanting him to move. If we believe the Tom Bogert reporting and all of the stuff that came out around that rumor right before the season started, then Mirtu was also like, and he said it in that interview that I think it was Verde Nation that highlighted that last week, right? That was like, he was like, we were good to go. Like, I was fine to leave. Rehabbing that value for sure.
Dude, he's been awesome, man. He really has.
Yeah. And like, again, like we've said this entire season through the first parts of the year, no matter how you get there, like if you're doing well for us, whether you leave or not, that's helping us win and or helping rehab your value and get you out of here if that's still what you want to do in the summer. So anyways, well, let's keep moving through this game because it's less than 10 minutes later when Minnesota gets a long throw opportunity, right? No Boxel in there, but they're still going to employ that tactic. And it was Padelford who was hucking those in there in the first half for Minnesota. But on this opportunity, it's far side to the broadcast camera. He actually throws this short because Triantis slides over and is just wide open. So normal throw in right to his foot. And then Nectarius has all the time in the world to just pick out what he wants to do, serving this ball into the 18. And I don't know if he mishit this or what, but like I certainly wouldn't have played this all the way over the top to somebody on that left side of the 18, but that's where the ball goes over everybody. And as this ball is going over the scrum, Facu's able to head it away, but the whistle blows as Rosales and I forget who he was kind of tangled up with there. It may have been
Marcanic.
I was going to say it may have been Marcanic. Marcanic goes down, whistle blows for a penalty on Rosales. I think this is soft. I thought it was soft watching it live, but I also didn't think watching the play live that it was like the craziest thing I've seen. And I think is hard to overturn on replay by VAR because there is a lot of contact there. But I also don't think this ball, and like maybe I've got NFL brain here, where like uncatchable? Like you can't, like this ball is not coming to anybody, certainly not Marcanic.
No.
And I don't think this contact affects the play at all. So like, I guess that's not written into the rules. Maybe it should be. Cause again, I don't think like, you get a goal scoring opportunity from the spot out of that. But again, I've been way more upset about other penalties that have been given against us. So it's Kelvin Yeboah that steps up to take this. Stuver saves the shot. It was not a great pen taken by Yeboah there. But then Minnesota crashing the box. They get a second shot attempt. Stuver saves that one. Ball bounces off the crossbar down in front of the net. And then I think it was Chonkalai that was able to eventually usher it in the net on the third try. Now, it looked offside. I think you were screaming offside right as it happened. And then they review it. Encroachment on Minnesota for coming into the box early, which was not the offside we were talking about. But also, Stuver on the review is off his line. So they retake the pen, and Brad is upset, and I think his argument here is, and if it was, I agree, and if it wasn't, I'm making this argument now. If Stuver's off his line just by himself, and he saves the pen, we retake the pen, right? If there's encroachment and Stuver's off his line, we retake the pen? I think when the encroachment happens first. And I just don't think you should get a second opportunity on that, because then why wouldn't you? I mean, I guess you don't encroach every time because the keeper, if he holds his line, then you don't get the pen. But like, it just doesn't seem right to me. Or it's like a slight loophole, I guess, that like double foul also goes back to the same spot we were at. Like, it just didn't sit right with me, certainly in the moment. And again, looking through those Verde tinted lenses. But regardless, Yeboah gets a second attempt, puts it off the crossbar, and one of the more ball don't lie outcomes I've seen watching this team.
Yeah, absolutely. Start with the pen, right? Do I think it's egregious, the contact that Joe is making here with Marcanic? No, I don't. Is he right in front of Penso while this is happening and like has a arm around the dude's waist a little bit here, and like clearly Marcanic sells it a little bit? Maybe wrong spot, like wrong place, wrong time there with that one. But like, this wasn't the first foul that Joe has in this game, right?
Mhm.
Like this, like you could tell that there was just a little bit more emotion going on with him in this matchup. And this is the first like real big mistake I think he made thus far in his Austin tenure, because there's, I can see how that gets called, and this is how it gets called. And like, again, I don't think there's enough to overturn this if you do go listen to it. So Joe, it was unnecessary contact, because to your point, this ball isn't even fucking close to anyone.
Yeah.
It's going over the top. Let's just let this ride out, and we're out of this situation. So I thought this was an error by Joe, and you just don't put your kind of fate in the hands of a referee like this. And then I knew Yeboah was missing the second one. He was immediately, you could just kind of read on his face. He's trying to like laugh it off a little bit, because I think I think it might be Biru's chirping with him or something like that.
Yeah.
So I knew he was missing this one. I just didn't look comfortable up there. Get this off the crossbar, and like, yeah, fantastic. You're out of the way here. But I'm with you on your point. I just don't know how that works, and I don't know if there's like an offsetting. Like there's two penalties, like you do the down over or whatever. But like, you get out of there, and like big on Stu to get the first one, because that definitely put it into Yeboah's head. And that stutter step initially, it fucked even Yeboah up. I think it fucked up the guy who encroached, because everyone thought he was going to kick it. So like, too bad, man.
Yeah, and like going back to what you said about Rosales and like the environment last night, right? Like returning to
he got some boosts.
His old team. That's what I was getting to. I'm surprised that what?
I just said sorry.
Oh no. It's just that was what was on my mind.
Yeah.
It was like, I was surprised when I heard it on the broadcast that every time he gets the touchdown there in their supporters end that I don't know, man. Like I don't know. We didn't boo Nick Lima when I don't know did Nick Lima come back at any point? I don't remember, but like, and not 1-to-1, but I just don't think we've booed any of our former players. Jared Stroud, we gave him the business, but that was after the St. Louis thing. It's not like we booed him when he came on with St. Louis, and far from that. So again, I don't know, but I was surprised.
I was definitely a little surprised, you know what I mean? Because from everything that we know about the situation, it wasn't really his decision or like what he actually wanted. He wanted to get paid. But I think after seeing him perform since he's been here in Austin, would be justifiably so. You got to fucking pay this dude. But again, Marcanic is also a really good player, and they have those good wing backs that they use up and down the field there. But there was just a little bit of extra emotion for him, and I think it got into his head, and this was a result of it. Fortunately, you were able to get out of the situation without conceding.
So, after all of that craziness, we restart in the 28th minute where Jefferson Diaz gets a yellow card for hard challenge on Gallagher there. Definitely a yellow, in my opinion. And jump into the 40th minute where there's a yellow card shown to Nectarius Triantis for slamming the ball down, spiking the ball after a foul call win against Minnesota. And really that 10 minutes between those two cards, I thought the Loons had the momentum, but this is where Austin was able to really regain their footing, I think. And also because I was doing some live notes as well as we watched last night. This is where I noted, I have never experienced something like this in my fandom, my sports fandom overall, with a San Antonio Spurs playoff game and an Austin FC game going on at the same time. First time in my life, I think I was overwhelmed watching sports with my emotions, because there hasn't been a Spurs playoff game. There hasn't even been a play-in game. You know, the fucking Summer League's been our biggest game to this point while Austin's been playing.
It starts right here after this PK, right? It starts with a little bit of frustration with Penso. You know what I mean? You start to see a lot of Minnesota guys chirping.
A lot of cards.
You get a lot of what's the dissension kind of stuff that I think Pereira gets one of those, a yellow for that. There's a lot of chirping going on here. They're upset, obviously, about some of the stuff with the PK and everything like that. But the game did ramp up here a little bit. And I do think that Minnesota were able to, grab the bull by its horns here and kind of wrestle this game a bit better than we did right after the PK, because it was a shit show. And we're sitting there speculating how much fucking extra time we're going to get in this first half here. And obviously we're going to get to that in a second. But I do think Minnesota responded, but you started to see some frustration bubble a little bit here with them. This foul by Nectarius, I don't think is very bad, but of course, spiking the ball like that, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, you got to get one then. And it's crazy here looking at the notes as we're into the 42nd minute here. It's crazy how many notes I have left for this half because of how much stoppage is, I think, rightfully given.
Yeah.
After all of the antics here. So 42nd minutes, the Loons have a transition chance now, and multiple Austin guys are in pursuit, full sprint. And it's Brendan Heinzike who pulls up lame as he's sprinting back and slows down, tries to stay up for a moment, sits down. Ball doesn't go out, so he tries to stand back up, and eventually Ramirez gets a foul to stop play, and Heinzike sits back down. This is where Chankalai, as you mentioned, gets the yellow card for dissent. And dude, like, we already talked about the mini fans booing Joseph Rosales, but now they're booing Heinzike as he comes off hurt. I just thought that was wild. And our buddy Jones, who was sitting there, who's noted Packers fan, goes, I've seen this plenty. This is normal for Minnesota.
Yeah, dude. I mean, why would we want to use a sub in this first half here? Like, this is not gamesmanship. He's fucking hurt, dude.
Yeah.
So weird. Obviously, I think you're not going to see BHI for a while with how he looked after this one.
After the break, yeah.
Yeah, it's best to be safe with him. Obviously, we're going to have to get into John Bell a little bit and what his status is. But here we go. Another first half sub needing to be used by Austin. And, as frustrated
Our sixth, I think.
I believe so. And as frustrated as we have been with Nico at times, justifiably so, weird shit like this has happened at the start of this season. Again, I don't want to keep coming back to this shit, but you win the game versus Minnesota most likely if Robbie Taylor doesn't go down, and you probably win the game versus Toronto if Beru doesn't go down in that matchup. Stack on top of that all of the injuries we've had to deal with, and then stack on top of that the amount of times we've had to use a sub and window in the first fucking half. And I think you have to remove the window. Like, if you're making a sub in the first half, that should not be a fucking window. You're doing it because someone's hurt. So whatever. I digress there, but I don't expect to see BHI. So I'm, and again, just not very envious of the situation that Nico has found himself in regard to the players available, what's been happening with this team, and the course of bad luck. But it has seemed as of late, the luck is coming back a little bit. Get the gift versus St. Louis PK here, which was awarded, and then 2 missed PKs by Minnesota in the, a 5-minute span there.
Yeah. Well, I think I mentioned, 6th time we've had a guy subbed off in the 12 league matches, subbed off early, or maybe that's all comps, right? Because of the Danny sub against Louisville. But it's I was just thinking, we've been dealing with so much with Jaden in and out of the lineup and such, but it's only been him twice. Yeah. Right? It was Charlotte and then Houston, right? Yep. Subs out before the game even starts against St. Louis. And add BHI to that list with Danny and Ilie and
Gearman.
Man, get rough for these guys right now, man.
Yeah.
So 12 minutes of stoppage shown here, and I noted here that it's 2 fouls committed. One, Austin had the advantage, and then there was a second immediate foul, and it was the 2 old guys out there, Ilie and Ramirez, hitting the deck. And Austin, the foul was blown on the second one. So on that free kick, you get a yellow to Facu for time wasting, and there was nothing doing on that service. But man, I assume he was warned before that, but I didn't see a warning. And to get a yellow for that, it wasn't much more than 15 seconds over the ball. And considering that St. Louis wasted 1:04 last week without it, right? There was no yellow card there. It was just a warning. Come fucking Pensos, man.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. And I talked about frustration with the players and everything. I think it was rubbing off on him. He was getting it from all angles after that PK, the second PK awarded there. But you can see Facu, mouthing it. He's like, I'm about to kick it. He's like, I'm about to kick the ball. So weird.
He starts the yellow, he immediately kicks it. He's like, all right, fuck you. So 4th minute, that's just excellent work by Joseph Rosales in this moment. He takes the ball cleanly off Tomas Chankalai and then turns him around, opens space up for himself down that right sideline, ends up drawing a foul and a set piece chance for Austin inside the Minnesota half. And it was just, again, another moment of individual brilliance from Joseph. And it feels like we're seeing one of those once every other game, if not more frequently so far. So again, even on the night, even with the pen, I know you can ding him for that, but I thought he played a fine game outside of a very consequential foul.
Agreed. And I think he did settle in after that moment. I think he realized it. We got away with it. I think he did settle into this game a little bit more and wasn't letting the outside noise kind of affect him.
Yeah. 8th minute of stoppage, you got a long ball here for Austin from Biru to Azuni. Mirtu taps it back to Faku and takes off. So Torres plays Mirtu in over the top, and Austin's got a 2-on-1 in behind. Ramirez to Mirtu's left, and it's Azuni taking a shot right from the edge of the 18. And it goes right at Calendar, but he blocks it right back into the path of Azuni. And Mirtu, instead of taking it himself, tries to lay it off for Ramirez, and it's a bit behind Christian. The Loons are able to clear this out, and this felt way worse to me on the replay this morning.
It's bad.
In the sense of, I'm not sure why, out of all the chances Mirtu has taken for himself in the year plus that he's been here, where he should have passed it, dude, this is almost a tap in.
Yeah, no, I don't, it's so, I was going to say it's so uncharacteristic of him to
where's
not.
the lion? Where's the crowd? Like, dude, this is crown yourself moment. Brace in the first half, dude. Like, again, my thoughts on Mirtu have it like that was factored into the praise we gave him earlier. Still very high on what he's been doing. But this was uncharacteristic of what we've seen over the last 2 months. And again, like in the moment, maybe it was because I'm bouncing back and forth. We're not quite to the ejection of the best basketball player in the world yet. But like, that game's going on. So like I think that's why I didn't fully clock it, because I was sitting here just bewildered this morning watching it back.
I remember saying it live, and then on the rewatch, it looked even worse on the rewatch today. And then, like, I remember saying it live, being like, "Why is he passing that? What in the world is going on? I don't know. I'm not going to try to get into his head in this moment."
Like, I could try. Like, Ramirez has set him up so fucking much so far. Is it like, I'm giving this back to you to score it, friend? Like, that's just
I guess my try would be like, he saves the first one. So like maybe he thought I didn't have a great angle there, but like you're so much closer now at this point, and that side is wide open. So I really don't understand the decision here, but yeah, man, I think probably when Mirtu sees this, he'll probably feel the same exact way and be like, why the fuck am I passing that ball?
Yeah. So in the 10th minute of stoppage, Austin break through that Loons defense again. This time it's Dessler intercepting an attempted changing ball inside that Minnesota half. So Mikel taps it down to Mirtu, and those two take off running at a backpedaling Romero. The Mirtu plays Dessler into the 18, and as he gets to this ball, like at the edge of the 6, it sure looked like live that Chancalay goes through the back of his left leg and should have been a pen. Dessler is calling for it this time. He's not pointing to the corner. And no pen is called. And then you watch the replay, and it looks like a pen to me. I know he touches the ball.
Yep.
But he also cleans out Dessler from behind. So, like, I don't know, man. I thought, again, like, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but I felt like, especially if that Rosales is a pen where there's no threat on net in that moment, this one there surely is. So I was confused by this one as well.
I think everyone's been confused with the inconsistency with how these PKs have gone. And this is not, just an Austin FC problem. This is happening across the league with plenty of teams. We just, have only been benefited of one PK this season, but he clearly clears them out. Like he does get the ball. Absolutely. Dessler, very demonstrative about the fact that he just got fouled here. I thought he should have one-timed this a little sooner, but whatever. I think it's a foul. I think it's a PK, particularly with how you called the first one. So I'm not sure. The fact that we don't even go to VAR, like we don't even go, he doesn't have to go to the monitor and make him make this decision again. Like, I don't know. I just don't understand it right now. It seems really inconsistent, but I do like, so like, right. We have the Yeboah miss. You have Minnesota kind of grapple some momentum back. They start to take control a little bit of the game. You have this Mirtu chance that's pretty deflating, I think, for a lot of people, because I felt like we should have been on the board 2-0 at that point in time. But you see Austin kind of see this 12 minutes out and not just be completely on the back foot here, which was good to see. And this was a nice build-up, a good play by Dessler, and I do think he deserved to be rewarded with the PK in this moment.
Yeah, it just gets even crazier towards the end of this 12 minutes of stoppage, because in the 11th minute, Joaquin Pereira picks up a yellow card, but like Austin had the ball and was like almost off on a break. Like it wasn't a goal scoring chance or anything here, but like Gallagher had just broken into some open space with it.
Yeah.
And like Penso stops the play because Pereira's sitting there like sarcastically clapping at him and he gives him the yellow card for dissent, which like, okay, but like, can't you do that in 20 seconons when we potentially lose the ball? Like,
exactly. And instead, I mean, like, God, we've done so many sports crossovers in this episode thus far, but like, you see it when someone feels like they don't get a call on a breakaway, right? And then they're intentionally mother effing the ref to stop the fast break going the other way. And you just have to wait until that play. They even do it in the NBA, which is what, not what you're supposed to do. Yeah. And in this moment, it was like, we have the ball. We're good. Even if this was a yellow-worthy foul by Pereira, you still should play continuation. So I was confused, man. The dinners with the Pensos must just be wild. Yeah. This just must be wild atmosphere.
Yeah.
Overcooked.
Is that a yellow or a red for Overcooked?
She goes, puts a little thermometer in the meat. Rescinded.
Oh, shit. We're not done, man. 12th minute. Biru does get a yellow. This one, pulling back a Minnesota guy. Biru got beat on a give and go, so deserved there. But mercifully, a wild first half, or 2/3 of a game. Comes to an end there. So coming out of the half, no changes for either team, and picking it up in the 47th minute where Olin Jen gets a yellow. Similar to that Biru one, got beat on a give and go. Azuni is free in behind if he doesn't pull him back here. So yellow card to start the second half as well, which I think that's the 7th yellow in 47 minutes of regulation play here. 50th minute. This should have been a second yellow to Tomas Chancalay because he goes up high on a challenge, smacks Rosales in the face, and it's even worse on the replay because Chris Penso, when they show the slow-mo, Chris Penso is 5 feet away, staring at Joseph getting hit in the face. And again, I understand when officials try to use their discretion to like keep a game under control, right? Save the cautions for later, etc. But that's gone. Now. Yeah. It was done in the first half, dude.
Yep.
He gave out 3 in stoppage time, but 5 yellow cards from the 40th minute on in the first half, and you already gave out another. This is right in front of you. The luckiest man on the night is Tomas Chancalay because he should have conceded the second penalty on Dessler, and now he should have been shown the fucking gate for a second yellow. This is a second yellow. And again, it's fucking Overcooked.
I'm flabbergasted at how this isn't a second yellow. You know what I mean? I think you were walking in from outside on the porch or whatever, and I'm screaming at you like, he should be thrown out clear as fucking day. And he's right there. Yeah. You know what I mean? I can understand in the first half, right? If it's like, okay, you got a quick yellow and then there's like kind of, a bang, bang kind of play where like something happens, you take out a guy, but whatever. This is an elbow strike. It's high and it lands. Like he clocks him. So like, I don't understand how you're not thrown out of this game for this, man. It's just unbelievable.
58th minute, it is Chancalay has a ball that falls to him with space inside the Austin 18. He's to the left of net and sends this open chance off the volley. Like it was a tough attempt, but sends it well over the bar. And I wrote in my notes, he didn't deserve it. That's why he didn't make it. And so 5 minutes later in the 63rd, double change for Minnesota. It is Hamas and Will Trapp coming on for Triantis and Chancalay. And in the 69th minute, it's a long bout of Loon's possession here. And it's Pereira breaking out of like a loose double team. There's 2 defenders there. It's Galley and Ilie down that right side of the Austin half. And as Pereira approaches the 18, he squares it to Will Trapp at the top. He slides it onto Hamas down that left side, and Rodriguez crosses it pretty damn perfectly, man, to the back post where Marcanic rises up over Ilie, heads it home for the equalizer, and it's a great pass, man, on a platter. And Marcanic, we know how athletic he is, and he beats Ilie.
Yep. I mean, I wanted to go out of my way to preview a bit of Marcanic for the folks who aren't aware of him. I think this was his 17th goal in like 60 something appearances for the Loons. He's one of the best offensively minded, talented kind of defenders in this league right now, and a member of my best ball team.
I was about to say, I think it's the first time I had heard you or seen you, like, after we concede, you look at me and go, best ball points.
Yeah. But I mean, of course, James, dude. You know what I mean? It's just, of course, this happens where he comes back, and this is the level of touch, the level of accuracy that a player of that caliber has, and he puts this on a platter for Marcanic here, and they deserved it. I think so. This possession where they had this ball for a while here, building this up, kind of probing and everything, and then you get the ball to arguably the most dangerous player on the field at that point in time, and you're 1-1 here. And again, I know that there was, they're talking about it on the fucking on the match. Austin concedes X amount of goals after 70th, X, whatever minute it is, where it's the most in MLS. I think we were at 10 at some point in time. So, okay, let's pull it back a little bit. Let's look at the San Jose game. What happened and transpired there, and how that blew that number up. Again, coming back to it again, taking into account 2 late goals where we only had 10 men. So, like, there's a lot going on there. I understand the frustration, and because I don't want to concede leads, but again, I didn't think Minnesota wasn't going to score in this game. There was no, indication for me that they weren't going to be active. And now we both said, as soon as they brought James on, you're sacrificing something defensively, but the jump you get with Pereira and him out there, and you saw those two playing off one another, and it comes on the second goal here, just elevates this team to a different offensive level. And we knew the defense was solid, only 1 goal conceded at home up until this point. But when you have James out there and Pereira and some of these guys that they can get involved, like Marcanic, they have some firepower up there. So I didn't expect them not to score. This is a great goal, and you're at 1-1. And how are you going to respond?
Yeah, it's right after the goal here in the 70th. Owen and Danny come on for Ilya and Gallagher, and it's a bummer because those guys were waiting, ready to come in before that first goal was scored, and a bummer they didn't because. Of course, it's not guaranteed that goal wouldn't happen, but it's the 2 guys who come out initially get beaten with the double team, or the guys who get subbed out, and then it's Ilya who gets beaten over the top by Marcanic. So again, that's literally Monday morning coaching here. But 73rd minute, Brad, almost disaster, giveaway by Stuver here. And so able to get that ball out of the 18, Loons get it, James gets a shot, but right into Brad's mitts. So 76 minutes, a good ball into Mirtu from Owen Wolf after Austin appears to really, I think, taken back control, at least of the possession and pace of the match following that near Brad giveaway. That Mirtu shot goes wide, but again, the offensive threat has returned. And as soon as I commented on that in the notes, Minnesota goes the other way with it. Solid changing ball from Romero on the left to Pereira on the right near the end line, and he runs it down, keeping the ball in play. Whirls back around to face the penalty area from that right side and plays a give and go with James, who had floated over, and Pereira's wide open receiving that pass back to him, curls it past Stuver for the lead, and certainly need to credit the offense here a little bit. Great play by the 2 most talented Minnesota players on the field, at least with the ball at their feet. And Owen Wolf gets kind of cooked here, man. And I don't know if that's a conditioning thing, right? He's just not back into full game form, or
the feel of the game, the groove.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Because I'm certainly not going to say he gave up on the play. But it wasn't much past that threshold.
Yeah,
it was not a good look on film to get beat that easily on the give and go by Pereira. And to be honest, it would have to be somebody who knows more soccer than I do to know if John Bell on the rotation should be there quicker. I don't think so, but I don't know for sure.
I don't think so either for the John Bell thing. I do think this is an error by Owen. You kind of see him initially be like, oh shit, I got to track this dude. And then oddly enough, kind of peels back towards the middle. Very weird. I mean, the defense as a whole here was shit because you have, I believe, three guys condensed kind of right in front of James, and then Owen behind him following Pereira. And for this give and go, bang, bang to happen and for it to look so easy is a real indictment that the defense was really fucking poor here. And now, as I mentioned before, I didn't expect Minnesota not to score in this game. Now I'm like, oh my God, this is not tight. And with what just happened with Owen there, it was like, oh, you're not a part of this game right now. Are we going to be able to rely on you to help us kind of claw one back in this moment? And, you know, to his credit, he doesn't make a huge impact on this game. I do think he responds a little with some stuff that I thought was important, didn't necessarily lead to anything. But this is bad defense, and you just hung fucking Stuver out to dry again.
Yep. But off the restart in the 79th minute, Austin brings it up the left side. Biru tries to play a ball to split two Minnesota defenders. That ball's intended for Ramirez. It gets denied by Mo Duggan. That deflection comes to Rosales, and he cushions it down, finds Biru again wide left. So then Guermey and Owen, kind of as you said, like Owen gets back into the mix here. Quick 1-2 on that left side that gives Guermey space to hit a cross into the 18 from near that end line. And Christian Ramirez tries to flick that service on in the box, and his effort bounces off the foot of Padelford and then off Facu Torres and trickles back to the foot of Ramirez, who bangs it on target. And then with the help of a deflection off Will Trapp's outstretched leg, goes past Drake Callender, and we're back level. Within a minute, look, I don't care how many deflections that had to take. We got it in the net. We're back into it. And they did reward Facundo Torres with an assist on this play.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Jumping the numbers for us. We got the little national media on our side now all of a sudden. Christian Ramirez, man, good Lord. You know, right place, right time, cool, calm, and collected here. A positive and fortunate kind of deflection for us, but we'll take those. We've had plenty go the other way against us so far this season. Now you're at 2-2 here. And again, I thought I was just right. Like I was just talking about Owen and how much better that feels, right? When the attack is Guermey's playing off of Owen Wolf and not fucking Ilya, you know, like it's coming off bang, bang, and we're going up the field now. Like that, I think is a sign of things to come once Owen's fully back, fully ramped up. That really excites me about what this team could potentially look like. But again, Christian Ramirez, right place, right time again, timely goal again. And, you know, I some of it has, you know, the luck and the good fortune involved and sprinkled in, but this dude knows where to be at and knows how to position himself to be in the right place at the right time for some goals and some goal scoring chances. And he does it again.
So in the 82nd, Mike Boxall comes on for Padelford. 2 minutes later, you get Brandon Vasquez on for Ramirez. And in the 85th, John Bell collides with Kelvin Yeboah in front of Austin's net on a Minnesota cross, and he goes down. So as he's still down, training staff comes on for both players, but John clearly got the worst of that exchange. You get Gonzalez on for Jen, so another forward in for the Looms. They're certainly going for it. But I think that second goal kind of took the air out of the stadium. Yes. And so in the 89th, Bell comes off. He's going to have to get subbed here due to concussion. So Austin gets that additional sub for concussion protocol. And it's John Kolmanich ready to come in, but there's just no stoppage to be able to get him on. So because of the concussion rules, Kelvin Yeboah is also held off until we can get Kolmanich on. So there's 7 minutes of second half stoppage time given, 10 men on the field for each team. And here in the first minute, Rosales plays a good ball towards Vasquez, who lays it off for Mirtu Azuni. And then Azuni takes one, maybe two touches towards his right. And it's a good Mirtu shot, I thought. That's saved by Callender. But I'm going back to where Ramirez laid the ball off for him in the first half, and he took that nice rip. You mentioned, 30 minutes ago on this episode, like, I'm wondering what it's going to look like with BV. I think that was a preview, providing something very similar to what Ramirez has done for Mirtu. It's not like that was non-existent in their, 12, 13 games that they played together last year. But it was nice for me to see in this moment, especially because BV didn't make much of an impact on this game otherwise. Again, we've talked about it, right? We don't need to be putting the entire weight of our expectations on these guys working their way back from major injury. But this connection to me, Rosales to Vasquez to Azuni, felt pretty good even though the goal didn't come off.
Yeah, and I mean, I brought that up earlier, but a part of BV's game is that hold-up play where he can do that stuff, where he's dropped. Like we saw that all last year. It's just we didn't have that second kind of striker running off of him. So I'm with you, and that's a very, very, very good point by you that like this could be something of things to come as well here for this club. I think this is a good shot by Amir too. Again, staying involved all the way through the end of this game. Guy's been great.
So 90 plus 3 is where Jean is finally able to come on. Yeboah as well, both teams back to full strength. And here the head official changes a throw for Austin that I thought watching live was the correct call by the line judge, where like that assistant referee, I'm like, what? We're still like last week I was bitching about them changing a call that was definitely correct by the line judge. This week you get the replay. Broadcast angle looked like Guilherme deflected it off of the Minnesota player there. It may have been Yeboah. You see that close-up replay. No, we changed that correct call. So 5th minute here. To close this out, man, you've got Danny going crazy because on this Minnesota free kick attempt, Mike Boxall goes the opposite way from net to shove Danny down to the ground, and then he makes his run towards the net. And the way we've been calling the fouls in the box, especially that Rosales pen, this is a fucking foul, and Danny is rightfully upset. And I think, again, just playing body language doctor here, I think Chris Penso knows he's wrong here, and that's why Danny doesn't get a yellow for way more demonstratively complaining than some of those Minnesota guys were. But again, I think he was justified in that because, like, you see it on the replay.
Yeah.
This not even good. Like, if anything, to me, dude, and maybe I'm going over the top here, but going the other way from net to shove a guy down should be a yellow. Because it's not like we would say on the court, that's not a basketball play. That's not a play. That's not a play for the game. He's just pushing Danny down.
Yeah, unbelievable. I don't even know like why he chooses Danny here. Maybe because Danny's one of the smaller players out there. Maybe because you can get under his skin and like amp him up. But like I think he's completely justified in screaming at Penso about this. And maybe Penso understood that he missed the call here, and you're not going to compound this by hurting Danny as well. But there's good old Mike Boxall doing Mike Boxall things.
Yeah. We get to the end of this one. It's 45% possession for Austin in this 2-2 draw. Pulling up the stats here for the YouTube viewers, 18 shots to 12 in favor of Minnesota, but 5 on target apiece. So I think you like to see that. 4 corners to 3 in favor of Austin. Austin converted their one big chance created, but this is a pattern, a trend that continues for our opponents. 5 big chances for Minnesota. They missed 3. I want to say that's like 15 or 16 big chances conceded in the last like 3-4 games. It's a concerning rate.
Yes, it definitely is, particularly with the St. Louis matchup and how their offense has performed. I know that they had gotten Leuven back and everything like that, but yes, this is a trend that we are not going to continue to get away with. You know what I mean? Like we've talked about the good runner form as of late. You've strung together 2 wins and a draw here on the road. But if you keep giving up this many chances, man, you're just going to find yourself too far behind the 8 ball really often. And like one that we talked about, the second goal in particular, is absolutely a defensive breakdown. The first goal here for Minnesota, great player makes great play. Tell me if you've ever seen that before. So like you get that one. But that second one, to allow that to happen with the amount of defenders that you have in that zone there, is a clear breakdown of the defensive unit. And you have to clean this up because even at full strength, I still don't think this is a team that's going to be averaging, in the top 5 goals per game, across the MLS. But if you're giving up 5-6 big chances a game on average, I think you're going to lose more games than you're going to win.
Yeah. I'm looking at some of the stats, the charts here. So from the MLS stat account on Blue Sky, a 3rd straight match, most passes into the final third coming off the foot of Joseph Rosales. Again, I think just another match where he's playing well. Okay, what do you got?
If I may, I think that this just solidifies he's in the midfield when we're fucking this is 3 games in a row, right? Like since he's been playing in the midfield where he's been the guy who's so like I just think that when we talk about full strength lineups and everything, I didn't really mean to interrupt you here, but like the proof is in the pudding. This dude is doing it from the fucking midfield, and he's guarding.
Yeah. Yep. Well, take a look at the field tilt, 68-32 in favor of the home team there. Some of the comments from Coach last night, I guess really the one that I was most concerned with here, E, was the update on the two injured guys. And we get the update on Heinzike. Coach said that he felt something in the muscle and that they're going to get an MRI this week. And then he also highlighted, right, BHI, new father here. I believe it's his second kid, but Coach said it's been a different week for him because he had a baby on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. And then sometimes when things like that happen, you change a little bit the way you sleep and the things that could affect you, and you feel something there. And so, like, look, if new baby is causing our guys to get injured, is it a no sex policy we're having here? Because at the same time, you could make the argument, and I didn't read fully through this this conversation that was happening in a group chat, but I know it did exist. Is like Azuni's family's here now, so is he having the success he's having because now he's having sex?
Interesting.
Like
yeah.
I don't know. I
don't know.
Where do you fall on how much sex our players should be having?
Well, I was going to say, we can't implement the no sex rule on them just because that's how we live our lives. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. That just makes me feel, that quote made me feel like young. You know what I mean? Like Nico saying like, oh, you could sleep wrong. And it's like, shit, dude, I woke up at 11. Fuck, man. I'm healthy as a horse, bitch.
You fucking texted me at 8:03 the other morning. I was like, yo, what the hell?
Yeah.
Oh, man, but there was no update on John Bell.
Yeah.
So, of course, we're gonna preview this midweek San Diego match here in a moment, and I guess we can talk about it then unless you have anything else to add now. Game score, E, from the Patreon members in the Discord is a 3.05 at time of recording, which I believe is, quick eyeball here, our 6th highest game score of the season, falling in line behind, of course, the 3 victories and then the 2 draws back-to-back against LAFC at home and Miami on the road. We also had some requests to make a 3.5 voting option last night. And so while that's not something I'm able to accommodate, I guess I could upload a 3.5 emoji that could go in there. But I think maybe down the road, whether it's after the World Cup break, or if we want to keep this consistent throughout this season and change things up going into the sprint season in the spring, maybe you go 1 through 10. Yeah. Just allow the people to express themselves more, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but 3.05 game score.
I'm 4. I think I'm solidly in the 4 camp. You know, I know you conceded the lead. You clawed back and you fought your way back. You found a way to get a point on the road. We know that those points on the road are hard to come by and that they really buoy you, particularly when you're a team like Austin who has not dominated home field in the way that you need to. And I know I'm jumping, 2 games ahead here again over the San Diego game, but like you got Sporting KC coming to town. You got to fucking beat the brakes off those dudes. No matter, it is non-negotiable to not win that game. So we're going to get into the San Diego preview. I'm going to have some thoughts we're going to have to work through with that because of how the schedule lines up. But like, to me, you're looking at that Sporting KC game saying, 4 goals, like fucking blast these boys. But I do think this is a really good point on the road. I know that I, did my whole spiel on Minnesota not beating, high quality teams, having that signature kind of win, but still sitting in 5th place. They're a good team. They're a good team. They have talent, and they just got all their money's worth. They wanted to get out of James Rodriguez. They got out of him last night.
Yeah, in about,
you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you got 20 stellar minutes out of the fucking dude. Good for you. He's going to be gone. We won't have to deal with him potentially in the playoffs. So I'm happy for that. And again, vibes are still high. Guys are feeling good. Confidence is there. Dudes are getting healthy. Things are moving in the right direction here. And you got to keep it rolling in San Diego with a good performance.
Yeah, the last couple of things I had here, Dessler was the player available to the media last night, and two things that I took away from his comments. Number one, pointed out that he's played 3 straight full 90s, which may be the first time he's done that for us. Again, been in and out of the lineup since he arrived, so I think that's great news. I agree with him on that. And he also mentioned he thought it was odd. He said that half of the Minnesota field was like crap. Half of it was great and half of it was crap. So I don't know if that was, they got dry grass on one half. There was a little bit of sun at the start. I don't know. But I found that interesting. I also have 2 stats of the day for you, E. The 5-4 club so far in MLS. I'm sure there are a couple other players that have 5 goals, 4 assists, maybe a couple of those. But 2 of them that do, Mirtu Azuni and Denny Buanga. If you would have told me that Mirtu Azuni has as many goal contributions as Denny Buanga 12 games into the season back in February, I would have said, did Buanga get hurt? Alternatively, here are the 4 players with more assists than Facundo Torres in the league. It is Son, Berhalter. There's 3 players, Son, Berhalter, and Segovia. Then Facu Torres tied with a number of other players, but 4th most assists in MLS. I don't know, feels like some sort of chance creation to me, even as silly as we know that assist was last night. I'm sure Son has a couple that bounced off somebody's fucking ass cheek and, fell to a guy and he got an assist.
Yeah, I mean, and also that level of assist without some of your best offensive players out there thus far should be able to continue those numbers, if not juice those numbers up.
Anything else for you on this one?
No, good point.
All right, so we'll move into a quick San Diego preview here, E. I am on the written preview article at the northendpodcast.com here in the midweek, so I will get us started on last season's expansion darlings, right? We had a pretty big deep dive last season into, how this club came about, their expansion bid, battling with, I believe, an ownership group that wanted to bring a team to Las Vegas. We're seeing that play out right now. Let's save the Caps. Of course, we're on board with that. But this San Diego ownership group, led by Mohamed Mansour, who owns the Right to Dream Academy, right? I want to say, I know he's Egyptian and I think dual national British citizen, Mansour. But this Right to Dream Academy is originally based in Ghana, right? Youth Association Football Academy that now has branches not just in Ghana, but also Egypt for FC Masar, which I think Mansour is involved in Denmark for FC Nordsjælland, I think is how you say that, or close to it. And soon a branch in El Cajon, California, near San Diego. Since 2007, the reason we're bringing up this Right to Dream Academy is because how successful it's been. And what I think we should be a little nervous of in terms of this pipeline that San Diego has for themselves, given this ownership group. Since 2007, the Right to Dream Academy has produced 157 graduates that have gone on to play professional football. Some of the more recognizable names that have graduated from the Ghana branch of Right to Dream that we or our listeners may recognize include Ima Twumasi, right, who was with Dallas for a number of years. I don't think he's there anymore, but we've seen him plenty. Emmanuel Boateng, who does play for San Diego, although I think he's going to be out for this match. Josh Yarrow, who was with St. Louis, I believe he has moved on now. Max Woledzi for Nashville, one of the 2 starting center backs on one of the best teams in the league. A guy named Mohamed Kudus for Tottenham. Oseni Buddha from San Jose, who we became very familiar with. So did John Bell 2 weeks ago. And Yaya Boa, who is, of course, banned from MLS currently for gambling, but former MLS champion, Columbus, LAFC, etc. But, that's a pretty expansive list of names just for MLS fans to recognize, much less the guys that they're sending globally. So again, to have a branch of this academy that is not just directly feeding into San Diego FC, but they're basically in town with them, not good for the other Western Conference clubs, I think.
And I mean, on top of that, right, like you saw the early success with this club, their expansion year and everything like that, they have this blueprint of what type of players they're going to bring into this type of structure that they already have established with this Right to Dream camp there. So like they have set themselves up well for success. And, you know, obviously coming out of the gate last season and just blowing the Western Conference away with how good they looked and their very distinct style of play. I know they haven't been hot as of late, but this is a talented team that's trying to find their way right now. But they do have the blueprint for some sustained success out there in San Diego right now.
Yeah, the success was immediate last year because they finished like St. Louis before them as the last Western Conference expansion side. Finished as the top seed, 63 points, 64 goals for, 41 against. They were 1 win, 1 loss against Austin. Of course, Austin won the first meeting at Q2 early in the season. That was during an international break, so there was a number of players missing from that team. Chucky Lozano for them, right? We didn't have Mirtu at that point, or that weekend, rather. Then a 2-0 home win for San Diego at the end of May. That was the end of that disaster May for us. Goals in that one from De La Torre and Milan Iloski. Both of those guys have since moved on. A lot of their separation in the table last year was, or I should say, came from being the league's best road team. 12 wins, 1 draw, 4 losses, 37 away points in 17 road matches. Of course, this game is at home, but I think it's an important part of the story for them last year that they were so successful away from home and highlighting that Snapdragon Stadium was anything but a fortress for them. Still positive results, but way better on the road. In the playoffs, they did beat the Timbers, 8-seeded Timbers. Took them 3 games in that first round, but they got the job done. 1-0 win over the Loons in the conference semifinals and ended up losing to the Whitecaps 3-1 in the conference finals. This offseason, some of the key signings included Lewis Morgan, who was acquired in a trade with New York Red Bulls. San Diego got Morgan and $525K GAM of 27 GAM. In exchange for up to $1.1 million in 26 GAM. So more of a get this guy off the books for us kind of trade for the Red Bulls. They also signed Bryce Duke in free agency, right? Bigger name as a prospect, I think, than what he's shown as a player over the last couple of years. Started his MLS career with LAFC, traded to Miami, then to Montreal, and Montreal declined his option last season, which, maybe Montreal being cheap, but also probably saying something that a guy couldn't catch on with that team.
Yeah.
But the biggest offseason news was the Chucky Lozano saga, which really kicked off late last season, where issues with him in the locker room that led to an absence late in the season and then rocky vibes at best.
Yeah.
When he returned to the team in the playoffs, made 4 appearances off the bench in the postseason. And this wasn't a performance thing. This is an off the field teammate, locker room, whatever thing, because 9 goals, 10 assists in just 22 starts last year. He was every bit Chucky Lozano when he was out there and starting. And in the preseason this year, they announced that he wouldn't play again for the club, wasn't in their plans, and that they intended to transfer him. And that's a very odd situation to announce something like that and just surrender your leverage in a potential deal. And now, dude, it's gotten to the point where their fan call, they have beaten us, not just with their 1 seed in one of their early years, but now they've already flown a plane this year, dude. And it is to free Chucky, and was on 7.6 million guaranteed last year. That's probably not going down. This year. We don't have those new salaries yet, which, by the way, if we can flip to the Austin side for a second, I'm still so ready to see this salary drop because I'm clinging on to the hope that one or maybe both of Ilie and John Bell is on that 226K or fewer, right? And that we have this senior slot for, Shemi to slot into or something like that. We'll see. We will also see Chuky's salary, I assume, increase to probably $8 million or so, which last year, the 7.6 was the 5th highest paid player in MLS. But Sergio Busquets was above him, and he's gone now. So, I don't know, man. What could have possibly gone up? And we joke about this from time to time. Did he sleep with Mikey Veras' wife or another? Did he Tony Parker this shit? You know what I'm saying? And Spurs didn't get rid of Tony. It was Brent Barry out of the building.
Yeah. What a fall from grace, because as you mentioned, the counting stats are there, and he also looked the part every time he was out there. And pairing him with Dryer, dude, was
they're
just like,
crushing everybody.
We were just like, holy fuck, we're gonna have to deal with this for how long? Like both of these dudes. So I mean, I saw some stuff, I believe, if I'm recalling correctly, about like some locker room kind of spats and things like that. But like you said, to get rid of all of your leverage and be like, this guy's done. We no longer even want to buy the team. And he's getting paid right now. You know what I mean? Like this is a disaster for them. And it'd be hard to convince me that it hasn't impacted the results thus far this season. You know, you didn't really get away with it at the end of the year because they had aspirations of, you know, going to the MLS Cup, potentially winning it with how they started and finished last year.
Yeah.
But now at this point, the way this is drug out and just been such a weird situation, it's clearly impacting the club. You know, I talk about a couple other guys. What's that? What about that $4 million just floating around in there?
Let me walk you through this here. That $4 million number sitting next to Emmanuel Boateng is just it's got to be a copy paste. That's also their GAM number in the bottom right corner.
Yeah.
But like, just finishing up on their personnel stuff as we talk about the guys who are here, they also lost Luca De La Torre, right? His loan from Celta de Vigo expired. He's now with Charlotte. We talked about him a couple months ago. They also lost Franco Negri, who's now in Houston, and Paddy McNair, one of my favorite names in MLS last season, but he's now over there in the championship in England. And like, to start the season, dude, as we kind of mix in player personnel and results, they picked up where they left off.
Yeah.
Because you start the league season with 3 straight victories, right? And 5-0 over Montreal at home on opening night. Like that was expected. Montreal also got a red card in that game, if I'm not mistaken. So took care of business. 2-0 over St. Louis at home the next week. Then they go to Sporting on the road. 1-0. Not convincing, but you got the job done against a team that is, again, rightfully at the bottom of the table. And then they get into their CONCACAF Champions run, dude, and beat Toluca at home 3-2. First leg of that 2-leg series. Even after a red card in the 11th, they go down 1-0, score 3 shorthanded goals, and then take a second red in the 88th minute and end up winning 3-2. After that, the wheels have come off, and they have not. We actually may be getting some spare tires on this wagon here, but like 3-3 road draw in the league after that against Dallas, and a 2-2 home draw against RSL, which sandwiched the 4-0 thrashing that Toluca handed them south of the border. So you crash out of CONCACAF, still undefeated in the league, 3 wins, 2 draws. They followed that up with 5 straight losses in league play. 3-0 on the road to San Jose, 2-1 at home to Minnesota, 4-2 on the road to RSL, 1-0 on the road to Houston, and 2-1 at home to Portland. Now, I don't personally think, especially if you just look at those games in a vacuum, road San Jose, home Minnesota, road RSL, road Houston. Okay, like you can lose those games. Anybody can lose those games.
That can easily happen.
2-1 Portland. Huge red flag, I think, at this point with what the Timbers have put out there. And again, those fans and that team are not looking at those, it's just one loss. Like that's the 5th loss in that stretch. Yeah. And like, again, they have picked themselves up a little bit here over the last 2 games, but I'm sure the fans and the team not satisfied because you're up 2-0 at home on LAFC late. Give up 2 goals to drop points after the 80th minute. Hey, we feel you, San Diego. And then you're up 1-0 on the road against Seattle on Saturday, and you give up another late equalizer. So, like, coming back to the player personnel and the roster profile we have on the screen here for the YouTube viewers. No Chucky. Tomas Angel and Pedro Soma, their 2 U22 initiative players, do not play. Unless I have missed one of these guys, like, in their rotation. Like, I've watched this team frequently enough. They are playing like a team, to me, that is not just playing with one special roster player in Anders Dreyer, and a hell of a player, right? MVP runner-up last year, well-deserved. But they've also been missing Jeps Verskov, who's huge for them in the midfield, and I believe wears the armband. So, like, after all that, they're standing 13 points from their 12 games, 3 wins, 4 draws, 5 losses, 20 goals for, 20 conceded in those 12 games, 2-2-2 at home this year with 13-4 and 8 conceded. But that means the 5-0 red card win over Montreal is the difference. Outside of that, and Montreal's still a bottom feeder team, although, right, I think I would have them a tier above a Sporting, an Orlando right now, things like that. But like 1 win, 2 draws, 2 losses, 8 goals, 8 conceded in the other matches at home. Like this is all that to say, this is a game where there is a result and potentially a win out there for you, even as you are a depleted still Austin FC side. Like now we're looking at the back line being shorthanded.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, even jumping before they start out the season with the 5-0 over Montreal, you beat the shit out of Pumas 4-1 at home.
Yeah, that was before. I forgot. Yeah,
they beat the hell out of them, and then you go to Mexico and you get out of there 1-0. I know they took on a little water and were much more defensive in that game. You look at the momentum tracker and the stats and everything like that. It's much in Pumas' favor, but I mean, Pumas had to score 4 goals in order to get back into that. So it has been a wild ride for this San Diego team, still scoring at a high rate. Like you said, the 20 goals for there. They're up in that upper echelon of the Western Conference teams. And I think I can't say the dude's last name. The Zep guy, whatever the fuck his name.
Sverskov, I think is how you say it.
He's the guy. You know what I mean? He's not better than Dreyer. He's not better than Dreyer. I don't think he's better than Ingvartsen overall, but like he is the dude that makes what they do work. You're going to see with the stats once we get into them, or I guess I'll get into them now. Obviously, first in possession, most completed passes out of any team in the league. They are the most possession dominant team in the league. That's how they like to play, right? And like Serfkov, whatever in the middle there. He makes it all go. He connects everything. And like the shape that they use and the particular style that they use depends on a midfield who can have that defensive balance, but be able to shift around as they slot Dreyer back inside some of the midfield players who are pushing up, looking to a little bit of a box midfield as well. I wanted to talk about Pellegrino, who they got very cheap. Obviously, he's not at the peak stage of his career, but I believe he's only 2 goals short of everything he put up in San Jose, and he's on half the games right now. That obviously is raised, it raised a little bit with the amount of talent that he's playing with here in San Diego, but I thought that was a good get for him and a dude who fits their style really well. So as I mentioned before we were jumping on with the preview here, initially, if San Diego is playing the way that I expected them to play, I expected the way them to look this season, to me, this is a scheduled loss. You know what I mean? You traveled to Minnesota. Now you're flying out to the West Coast, going to Pacific time to deal with this team out there in their house. And then you have this game you 1,000% cannot lose. Not even just lose. You 1,000% cannot even draw SKC at home. And we shouldn't be looking to that and like forward past this game. But with the way that they look right now, I do genuinely think points are available. And even with the injuries, even with the limitations, we're still going to have minutes-wise on some of these guys, and definitely going to need to keep a tighter eye on that because obviously the game was on Sunday. You don't have that extra day here to get into this Wednesday game. And with Owen, you got to see how his body's going to respond to what he had to do. With BV, you're going to have to see how his body responds to what you're going to have to do and everything. I think Danny is a full go at this point. I think he can start this game, and you feel totally fine about it. But those other 2 guys, I'm not expecting starts out of. So I think initially when I was looking at this, I was just like, this is a scheduled loss. You're going to go in there. I was saying I thought points were available in Minnesota. You accomplished that. And now with this non-negotiable game coming up next weekend, this to me was just a match that you might have just rolled out, a softer lineup, get some guys some rest and some rotation. But I do think there's points available here, and you could really string some stuff together if you're able to find a way to walk out of Snapdragon with a point, at least a point. Because you could win this game. Like we talked about with them losing that stretch of like 3-4 games where it's like, Houston on the road. Yeah, that can happen. I forget the other teams or whatever. But like this is a game that San Diego could definitely drop 3 points against Austin FC, particularly with the trajectory of the teams right now. Austin building that positive momentum and still, the 2-0 lead versus LAFC, dropping that, getting only a point. Very frustrating. We've been there earlier in this season. And then the same thing with the Seattle outcome where it's like you concede late and you go from 3-1 and that's frustrating. And there's a lot of frustration going on in this team right now. As you mentioned, only playing with one DP. It's fucking tough, man. It's really tough if you don't have those guys.
Yeah. Well, I do want to say, like, before we just move completely into our thoughts about Austin, I know you sprinkled some in there, but it's not all bad right now for San Diego. Like, Marcus Ingvartsen has come alive up top, right? He was brought in originally to be their starting striker, spent most of last season on the shelf with various injuries, like multiple lengthy absences. Like, he had 2 goals and an assist in his 403 minutes last year, 8 goals, 2 assists, and 10 starts so far this year. And, like, a good bit of that is coming off his combinations with Anders Dreyer, right? We already mentioned MVP runner-up last year. Picked up where he's left off, 5 goals, 6 assists so far. And then, like, Oni Valikari is another important midfield piece. I think you also mentioned him. Like, him and Sverskov are the straws that stir the drink here in that dominant San Diego midfield. Valikari has 3 goals, 3 assists. He had 4 and 11 last season. And right now, those 3 players are accounting for 64.2% of the San Diego goal contributions in league play so far this year. And I'll also highlight, I think we talked about this a little bit, but they have had just an epidemic of red cards in the league. It's not just those 2 they got against Toluca. They have had 4 of their 12 matches they have received a red card. And those red cards have, as it happens to us when we get guys sent off, like, they're not winning those games. That has also fueled the downturn we've seen here. You brought up Pellegrino. I'll bring up Manu Dua on that back line. One of the best center backs in the league. Hopefully they move him on sooner rather than later because he's just such a presence back there. And they've been starting Duran Fodrey. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce his name, like, because he was just buried on the depth chart last year. Like, CJ Dos Santos was their starting keeper last season. Pablo Cisniega, I want to say, got the shout before Fodrey. But I didn't know that Fodrey was not only the club's first signing, but he was also a former goalkeeper for San Diego Loyal. So this is a guy, right, who's just been a professional player in San Diego for longer. I don't know if he might be too young, like, or too old where, like, CJ wasn't there yet. Because, you know, CJ played, you know, basically a semester with the Loyal. But yeah, man, I mean, they still have enough talent out here. Anibal Godoy in that midfield is a guy that we were rumored to be looking at in free agency.
Good player.
So I think I'm with you in terms of, like, there's points to be had here, but also not shocked because, like, you got to think that they're looking at Austin coming in like, this is our get right spot at home.
Absolutely. And I just want to jump back to Dreyer real quick and just kind of, really reiterate what type of player this dude is. I think he's a top 3 chance creator, passer, distributor in the attack in this league. Like, and that's a list that includes Messi, Evander, you know what I mean? Like, guys, like, he is he's a dude. He sets guys up really well. I pulled up some stuff on him here. Top 5 expected assists. He's created like 27 chances thus far this season. He's a guy for sure. And, like, we talked about Serifkov and, like, how talented he is and the way that he kind of brings this unit together, but Dreyer is their dude. And then you're looking at our side, right? How are we going to be looking with, no BHI, what's going on with John Bell, how those dudes I talked about before are going to respond, how their body's going to look, what the performance staff is going to think of what they're going to be able to do out there. But when we've seen Austin play on the road and sometimes get those kind of surprise results versus teams that we think are quality, it has most of the time come on the backs of, you guys have the ball a bunch. We find a way to hold on and sneak one past you, and then we can really kind of shut this thing down. So there's points available here, but this team, I do believe, is more talented than their positioning on the table might tell you right now.
Well, and so thinking about, right, those potential absences, we think Heinzike out, right?
Out.
Bell, I think, is questionable because it didn't seem like there was a question about him in the presser, and, like, clearly because he got concussion subbed, they put him in the protocol. But being put in the protocol doesn't mean you're diagnosed with a concussion. So, like, I'm leaning probably doubtful on John Bell, but I don't think we should be shocked, floored if he's able to get cleared and give it a go here. But if both those guys are out, right, obviously Djordjevic, I think, into the team regardless because of the Heinzike absence. But let's say Bell's out as well. Would you rather see Djordjevic start, or would you slide Biru over and start Kolmanich at left back?
I would rather see Djordjevic start.
And
that is even with how dog shit he looked versus Louisville, because he looked
first time we've seen him play, and we haven't seen him play a ton, but
yeah, he looked awful in that game.
Yeah,
like almost unplayable. So this is me definitely coming around to that, where it's like, yes, I do think it's his start here and a chance to redeem yourself, to get stuff going in the right direction, which we did think when we saw him the first time he was very capable of.
Yeah, we're probably not playing him at fucking right back in this.
Yes,
game,
also true.
Is,
because he played it once in youth league. So I'm Djordjevic there. You mentioned Dessler, right? Those 3 consecutive 90 minutes. I don't know if he has another full 90 in him, right? So I could see. Well, I don't think Jaden's playing. I'm just gonna get that out of the way.
I don't
see how he's gonna play. So you'll probably have to go Dessler, Fodrey, Djordjevic, Biru. Do you think you rotate him?
For who? Kolmanich?
Yeah, Kolmanich. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel, I don't want Biru sliding into the center back and have Kolmanich on that side as well. I think that's just not a good pairing defensively. But I could see Biru needing some rotation. I think Pep gets back into the starting lineup. I don't know if that's for Joe Rowe or if it's for Ilya here, but Joe Rowe been logging a bunch of minutes. And again, the weekend game, you cannot lose the game versus Sporting Kansas City, period. No matter what, even if there's a dinosaur runs on the field, I don't give a shit what happens. Like, you cannot lose that game. So
fucking Raptor attack?
Yeah, whatever happens, no matter what happens, you cannot lose that fucking game. And then I think Azuni, strap him in. You got to go get it. And then Christian Ramirez, I know you're 35, 34 years old, but where we're standing at right now with BV and then the depth behind him really only being CJ, I think you have to start both of those guys again. Johnny, the Iron Man, you know what you're going to get out of him. He's going to be able to go 90 no matter where you put him, and we're going to need that out of him. And I think you do have to stick with Facu over there because, kind of lost in the Azuni sauce, bringing up the Facu assist thus far. He's been more than fine in what he's been asked to do thus far, particularly with the lack of talent that has been out there with him. You need him because the set pieces have been such a big aspect of Austin's success thus far this season, and his chance creation has been awesome this year. So that's my 11 right there. I don't know if you have anything a little different.
Well, I don't know if I have like a prediction I want to make that's too far off from what you said. Like, I think I'm expecting some rotation. I just don't know exactly where it's coming from because I guess the one thing I would push back on, I'm not as confident in a Danny start here.
Okay.
And I guess my question was, do the minutes limits come up on those 3 guys? Because Coach did say in the post game yesterday that Danny and Owen were on 25-minute limits and BV was on 15. And so when you're talking about the soccer minutes limits, you got to factor in your proposed stoppage time before you have an idea of what that's going to be. So, like, I understand if those were the limits, why those guys came in when they did yesterday, a little bit later than we wanted them to, even before Minnesota started scoring those 2 goals. But Danny, if he was on a 25-minute limit last night, that's a pullback. He played 30 against St. Louis. So that's where I think the window is open for a potential Danny start. You limit him for sure on Sunday to get him that 60 on Wednesday. But I'm also not shocked if he comes off the bench once again and they saved that start for the lesser team coming to your house on Saturday. Because, again, of those 2, like 3 points is 3 points no matter where you get it. But there's no way those guys in that locker room are not looking at Saturday like, yeah, that similar to us. We're like, yeah, it's got to be 3.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, okay, so I hear what you're saying with Danny. I think that's pretty valid. Rogue Duber bridge.
I was going to say because
we've forgotten about him at this point.
One of Biru or Rosales, I think, gets rotated out. The one that doesn't plays left back, and Duber comes into the midfield. And then can you get Ilie some rest, and can Danny go 60? Right, in that scenario, I'm fine with that. Again, I just expect some rotation here. And, like, if we get a surprise where, like, Jaden's going to give it a go. Again, I don't think that's happening, but, like, we're going to have to change. We're going to have to change some things. I don't know. Close.
Yeah. And you know what? Obviously we've talked about the Duber-Ilie pairing at length a bit for this start of the season when we were forced to be playing that all the time. But this matchup in particular doesn't worry me as much as I think some other matchups would with those two in the midfield, just given how they play. A lot of possession, a lot of kind of back and forth. You don't have those burners. Dreyer, for what he's worth, he's not just an elite speed guy. Ingvartsen, not a huge speed guy. So maybe I'm not as concerned. Maybe I'm just feeling good about the club right now. But yeah, I could see potentially Duber sliding in there. As long as there's no Savovic.
Yeah. Shit, it could be. And that would maybe change your prediction. So let's put some down here, E. Unless you have anything else to add. How much is Austin FC winning by on Wednesday?
You go first.
Okay. I'm going to go, and I was dancing between this and a 2-2 draw. I think we dropped this one 2-1. I think we are the less desperate team of these two. And I think the loss sends you again into the weekend. We'll be back here on Thursday afternoon talking about you better fucking win this game against Sporting. But again, I'm not shocked by a draw or a victory here for Austin. I think I'm trying to maybe temper my own expectations as I balance how bad can I possibly feel between Austin FC 3 games in a week, Spurs 4 playoff games in a week. Now we're 2-2. I mean, dude, the butthole's tightening.
Man. I'm going to go.
Don't let me bring you down.
Like I said, I thought this was probably a scheduled loss, when I saw this initially and saw the midweek having to travel back to back and everything. But you know what? I'm going to go surprise 3 points here on the road. And we're really going to ratchet things up. It was Ari's question about, how much points would I – for me, it's still 9. You got to get to 9 one way or another, and if you can bag something here, now you're really, really cooking with gas. Give me a 1-0 Stuver masterclass. You get outshot 20-7, but Stuver on his head saves the day here for us. You escape despite being out XG'd, and Stuver increases his XG OT numbers there, propelling him even higher up that list. But yeah, 1-0.
All right, well, a 2-1 loss for me, 1-0 victory for E, and all of us like that prediction better. Of course, we don't care how you get it done, boys. Got to bring us home 3 points.
Come on down to Farmer Field where the champions play. Get ready for the game. It's Lost Business Day.
Last business day here on episode 306 of the North End Podcast. FCito taking on Tacoma Defiance last night at the pitch, taking a look at the lineup here. Some interesting changes. Let me get this up on the screen for our YouTube viewers. Riley Thomas was on the bench, did not get the start, but good to see that he was available here after the absence. Last game, you had Vlad Danchuto in up top in place of Ibrahim Asal. And then in place of Stefan Dobrhevic, Eric Feliciano gets his first next pro start. Dude, they're accelerating this kid right now, and they're pushing him a little bit.
Yeah, I think from what we've seen, rightfully so. You see something in this kid that we haven't really seen with like the Micahs and everything, where it's like, we push those guys, but like, this is a different level right now, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. And on the other side, Suska Nome in there, one of their first team supplementals. Also Cody Baker, believe homegrown for Seattle. Not always down there with Tacoma, but did start at right back for the Defiance on Sunday night. Just one note in that first half that was relatively quiet. It was 41st minute where Jacobaro sits down on the turf, which actually the second time in the half that he sat down. This time he's unfortunately unable to continue. So you get Adrian Gonzalez coming in for Jaka there in the 41st. And at halftime on the broadcast, dude, they ran a segment on Matt Hedges, who is now an assistant coach for North Texas SC. Good for him, but also suck it, Matt. Thanks for the 6 points this season. So getting into the second half, man, it was 53rd minute, a yellow card to Stuart Hawkins for a hard challenge, just going through the back of Irvin Torres and on that free kick, which is about 15 yards above the Tacoma 18-yard box, like to the right of net. You had Jorge and Micah standing over it. Micah taps it to Jorge, and Alistue dribbles once towards the target before uncorking a curling shot towards that far post that bounces and then is punched away by the Tacoma keeper. But Austin stays in possession, now wide left, and Pat Caielli launches this one towards the back post. It goes over everybody, but Micah Burton is there to run it down on the inline, keeping it in play and then facing up to the right side of the 18. And Vlad Danchutu makes a cut kind of coming towards Micah. So he hits Vlad, and Vlad receives, turns, dekes quickly one time around the defender to his right, opening just a moment of space for a shot that he takes it really well, beats the keeper to that far post for the opening goal. And I want to say Vlad's first goal this year as well.
Very nice to see. Again, stuff out of Micah, really positive stuff. And that's been a trend as of late. You love to see it. This Austin FC2 team, man, is really, really hot right now. Is this the first correct Easterdamus all year?
Might have been.
Either side, I think so.
Might have been.
3-0, baby.
Yeah, probably, because I think you would have probably said something before that I would have remembered. But
yeah,
it's shortly after this first goal, dude. Austin gets a counterattack chance, 56th minute. It's Micah putting in a cross. It forces a Tacoma defender to usher it out for a corner. That corner is taken by Jorge, whips it into the near post, and Irvin gets taken down to it in like very similar foul, or taken down in a similar manner, I should say, to that Rosales foul in the first team's match yesterday. But like the difference is this one is right where the ball is.
Yeah.
So the penalty is given here, and Alistue steps up, sends the keeper the wrong way, buries it in the opposite side netting, 2-goal lead. And after that goal, triple sub for Fcito, Ruzel, Dobrahevich, and Saul in for Burton, Feliciano, and Danchutu. 3 minutes after that, Tacoma makes their first changes, Emmert and Carly for Baker and Suskanome. And you're taking out those two first-team guys. Almost feels like a white flag from Tacoma there.
Yeah.
70th minute, Austin makes their final change. It's Badawia for Gonzalez because Adrian went down. Awkward challenge, just immediately signaled to the sideline. Walks off under his own power, but with a noticeable limp there. So in the 73rd, Dobrahevich earns a corner. His cross attempt from that left side got deflected out. Jorge goes out to take it, and he plays it short, where Austin's able to put in another cross from that left side that finds Ibrahim Asal. He gets a touch near the back post, but it kind of like goes through his legs, gets away from him. Luckily, the closest player to him is a teammate. It's Daniel Chesla there to poke it home for the third Austin goal, and the party is on, but then gets delayed by that storm that rolled through last night, man. Slightly over a 3-hour delay, they do resume play and finish this one out. Yellow cards to Roussel and Saul in the 83rd, and then the 3rd minute of second half stoppage. But that delay, brutal for all involved. A shout out to the teams, the officials, the announcers, the couple fans that I think actually did stay for that entire delay. You guys are sickos. Shout out to you. And goddamn, man, this stretch continues for the second team. Like you mentioned, 3-0. You take a look at the table. Austin FC2 now up into a tie for 4th place, 16 points through their 8 matches, 1, 2, or 3 games in hand on those 3 teams above them and the Quakes, tied for 4th. And we immediately move on to our first midweek match of the season. We will reset the table here to show that Wednesday's opponent, Rapids 2, is in last place in the Western Conference and the only winless team. Anything else for you on the victory before we talk just a minute about Rapids 2?
Quality victory. As you mentioned, again, this team really putting some positive stuff together right now. Been super, super hot as of late. You get the 3 goals here. I believe 2 big chances created. Didn't miss one of those. So this has been awesome to see. And a lot of guys who we wanted to see steps out of are taking steps right now. So hopefully they can keep this thing rolling versus a shit club here in the Rapids, which has been a fun matchup in the past, though.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, this is a team that, right, Austin FC2 back in 2023 defeated in the Western Conference Final, going back and forth at the top of the table all year. This is a team coming off a appearance in the final where they lost in PKs last season to Red Bulls. And the following season, after those two successful seasons, they have been at the bottom of the table. So just rubber banding back here. But I will say this is a cool thing that they do from time to time. This match will be at Dick's Sporting Goods Park, the first team stadium up there in Colorado. And I won't say this is a must win because of the great form that Austin has been in. Clearly have some buffer room in the table right now, but and it's also a congested schedule this week, but Rapids, right? We mentioned in last place, 3 draws, 6 losses to go along with no wins yet. That means, right, lost all 3 of their shootouts as well, 10 goals for, 22 against. Their 3 draws were against Sporting 2, St. Louis 2, and Vancouver 2. So the St. Louis result is a positive one for sure to get a draw there, but this guy's still looking for a win. Couple players to watch. Number 27 is forward Kamani Stewart-Baines. That's a familiar name to North End listeners. Generation Adidas player, I believe out of Maryland, if I'm not mistaken. But 7 starts for Colorado, too. No goals, 1 assist. He's still, to me, way more dangerous on paper and on old film that I remember than what he's putting out there with this team this year. Number 26, Mamadou Diop. This is the kid that slammed in 3 goals in 15 minutes against us last year at their place. 6'2", giant striker, 1 goal, 1 assist in his 4 starts. Not crazy low for just 4 starts, but last season, 14 goals, 2 assists in just 16 starts, and was a bbig reason why this team went to the final. You can also look for number 47. That is a first-team supplemental forward, Sidney Wahuta, 21-year-old, no goals, 1 assist, but the most field player minutes for Rapids 2 this year. Talking about us-y all-time, 3 wins, 3 draws, 4 losses against Rapids 2. You already mentioned those awesome games between these two clubs back in 2023. My questions, right, could be very shorthanded in the midfield, potentially no Jacobaro or Adrian Gonzalez. So time for guys like Irvin, Marcel Roussel, Kenny Hott, who is not in the team on Sunday night. Those guys potentially in spots where we need them to step up. Can we get Riley Thomas back in there for some minutes? Daniel Chesla, man of the match. Don't got to rush Riley back, but certainly would love to see him get some more minutes. And then my last note on Austin, not for guys that I think we'll see in this one, but you remember Artem Dashkovets, who we talked about 6 weeks ago, Ukrainian center back? We signed him at the end of March. I saw on his Instagram, he's definitely in Austin now, but we haven't seen him active as of yet. So I don't think it's this match on the road Wednesday, but waiting to see Dashkovets show up on the team sheet. I want to say there's, think about Pat Krzyzewski, who we drafted last year, injured. Don't know where he's still here, but just haven't seen him. So we got a couple guys floating around the second team roster that could be activated at any time. We just don't get the injury updates from these guys.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Hope we can get some jerseys too. That'd be sweet.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, obviously, looking at where these two teams are at in the table, the current run of form, I also don't want to say this is a must-win game, but there's no reason to give this team any life, any sort of hope. Come out, respect them, but just play them tough. You should be able to handle business, and I feel confident in your ability to rotate here in the midfield if you need to. Kenny Hott's been fine this season, so I'm not really worried about it.
All right, I don't have anything else to add here, E, because we're coming up on 2 fucking hours here. We can talk a little bit. How much is Austin FC2 winning by on Wednesday?
Give me a 2-1 comeback victory. Let them give up the early goal here. Get 2 against them. Let your quality kind of show through.
Okay, yeah, no, I like it. A little adversity on the road in the elevation. I'm just going to go 2-0. I just want another clean sheet here. Would be the 3rd straight. Backline's playing well. Lauta playing well. Get well soon, Charlie, right? We want to see that goalkeeper battle between those 2 guys, but 2-1 for E, 2-0 for me. First time in a while, it feels like. We prefer my prediction.
And if we could have essentially a boy factory.
The boy factory, hard work in the first team quality. Today's academy, can't you see? Tomorrow's Austin FC.
Nobody clip boy factory and use that.
Impromptu boy factory on episode 306E because the Academy just dropped the results summary from this past weekend. 13s and 14s on the road, which I actually knew because watching 360 on Saturday night, St. Louis, Colorado at Dick's Sporting Goods Park, they cut to the crowd. Academy team there wearing all verde. So
Hell yeah.
I knew those boys were on the road. Starting with the U13s. Entertaining 4-4 draw against the Rapids U13s. We had goals from Lionel Flores in the 10th, Jordan McClanahan in the 15th, Thiago Cibrian in the 45th, and Gian Zardes in the 67th. Clearly a back-and-forth affair there, 4-4 final. And then they take on Albion, Colorado. 2-0 loss there, but again, some valuable experience on the road. Again, in the elevation, not easy to play there no matter what age you are. And you go to the U14s, started the weekend, 2-1 victory over Colorado Rapids U14s, beneficiaries of an own goal in the 21st minute to get the lead. And then Colin Dwyer gets the second goal in the 40th minute. And then they take on Albion, Colorado at the U14 level, 5-0 win. Dom Ibanez opened the scoring in the 18th minute. Ryan Thompson, Hattie, 47th, 50, 69th. Like San Jose by yourself right there for Ryan. Braylon Marin also scored in the 53rd. Kind of interrupting the Ryan Thompson flow there, but good for Braylon. And 5-0, can't complain about that. So 2 wins, a draw, a loss. Good work by the boys. Safe travels coming home.
Yeah, absolutely. Well done, boys there. And, that 5-0, man, that's fun.
Yeah, we'll take that every day of the week. And we will close it out. Still haven't calculated the best ball scores with another Sunday Austin match and 2 scoring updates this week because we got a full slate on Wednesday. I see you, little smart ass look on your face because I know you were racking up the points over the weekend for your team. But you know where you're racking up the units is at the northendpodcast.com. Unfortunately, not if you're tailing those pick'ems because both Fodrey and Daniel allow just 1 goal after the Gavron comes through cleanly early in the day. But the picks at the books, dude, continue to be hot. Our second 2-unit play of the year was Miami money line to win at -115 over a Toronto team with 10 guys out, including like their 4 best players. So yeah, we'll take Messi close to even money at fucking Toronto. Was it 4-0, 5-0, something like that?
4-2.
Oh, yeah, they get the late Toronto, whatever. The game was over. Yeah. Austin FC double chance comes through. Shout out to the boys, +115. And then the goal scorers continue their heat as well. I would say we'll highlight Santi Moreno, +265. Louis Montino, we go back to him, +310. Azuni, +285. Crown jewel of the week, Mateusz Bogic, revenge spot, +500. Thank you very much. At the end of the week, plus 11.74 units at the books. So we are now plus 26.66 units on the season. Remember, after week 3, we were negative 29.37 units. So over the last 9 weeks, plus 56.03 at the books. Hot.
Sizzling.
Anything else for you, before we shut it down? Of course, the match preview article, another round of midweek picks on Wednesday morning as well. Busy week for Austin FC. Busy week for the North End coming up. Anything else for you before we shut it down?
Big week for the club here. You know what I mean? You got this game on the road and then a non-negotiable game this weekend at home. Really can put a stamp on this last stretch here before the World Cup break. So this is a big week. I'm looking forward to Wednesday night and looking forward to the weekend as well.
Yeah. I do think the title of this episode is going to be Overcooked, and that is kind of what we did here, over an hour and 50 minutes on episode 306. So we really appreciate any of you that stuck with us through all of this here in the midweek. We're going to be back on Thursday, recapping the road match against San Diego, previewing the return to Q2 Stadium to take on Sporting KC, of course, doing the same for the second team as well, and talking about everything else that happens in the Austin FC universe between now and then. Enjoy the beginning of your week, everybody. We'll do the same, and I will watch out for inanimate objects. We will see you back here on Thursday for another episode. Until then, easy. And I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.